Ooh, Exxon. I never know what to do. I always get frozen. For real, you guys have no idea how ridiculous this is. You push a button and then Facebook freezes for a minute and you can't tell whether you're live or not, and then it unfreezes at some point. And so there's this like 5-10 second period where you don't know if you're live or just looking like a goof. Anyways, wax on and wax off. Welcome folks, weekly Q&A. Our group's getting a little bigger, you guys are getting a little more active, and it's just getting a little cooler by the day. I love seeing you guys like really working at stuff and winning, because I know most of the world's caught up in the madness and we're over here growing businesses, living free, you know, making a life for ourselves, and that's just really cool. So we got a whole bunch of good questions today. I'm just going to give you guys a little, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, Frankie Fihn proudly brings to you our weekly Q&A. So I don't have any specific things to offer you, except for those of you guys who are interested in like crypto as well, or curious about it. Like, there is a serious way to like compound your money. This is what the wealthiest of wealthy understand. So if you would like an invite to our little private crypto group, for those of you who are interested in, let me know and I'll send you over there. Otherwise, let's get into the questions. We got Kyle twice. Kyle firstly says, using a podcast to spark conversations with potential clients works amazing. 5 call bookings this week, but interested to hear opinions on how to pivot the conversation towards sales and closing the prospect. As a general rule, Kyle, I wouldn't say you're not trying to close a prospect. Like, even when you sell, you're helping them solve problems and adding value to their business. I know like it's just a word, but I want you to like really think about that. I'll tell you how I do that. If I'm doing podcasts, I do this 2 ways to pivot into business. Way number 1 is I set the frame. So the way I set the frame is after you finish the podcast and you record it and you guys like jived well and you talked about things and you hit end and they say, hey, that was really cool. I say, hey, by the way, I would like this to be a hello, not a goodbye, because I thought you were really cool and I'd like to connect. And also, maybe I might have some idea how we might do some business together and collaborate on something in the future. Would you be open to that if that time comes? So they'll typically say yes to that. So that frame allows you to then go back later and not, hey, remember when I told you if I had an idea for you, I could run it by you? Yeah, so that's the second part to it is if you got people and you're going podcast, like instead of saying, how can I make a sale and talk about my product, just say, I had an idea for you and your business. Would it be okay to share it? And then show them how your thing helps their business, because that's the thing they really care about. So whenever you're talking about sales, what most people think about is I'm talking about my product, my service, my SEO, but you're actually talking about what they're trying to do, their business, their competitors, their dreams, their goals, those things. So it's always, I had an idea for you, and that's how you get to switch the conversation from a podcast interview to like an ongoing. This is, by the way, a really smart strategy where you give them value first by promoting them, and then as a step 2. Part 2 of Kyle's question. Hopefully I can squeeze this into tomorrow's Q&A. You made it, Kyle. As I've said on here, I run an SEO agency and struggle to show clients ROI. Obviously, I show website traffic increase, but that doesn't give you an indication on ROI. I've tried tracking numbers, but the client complains that it confuses customers. Would love to hear how other people are tracking ROI for success. Kyle, I know on the surface, like you got a question for like, how can I improve, you know, like showing my clients that that my SEO is paying for itself and therefore like I'm a value add, not a taking money away. But I actually don't think it's about your SEO. From how the question is kind of phrased, I actually think it's the type of clients that you're probably going after are the types of clients who are not used to spending money, who generally aren't going to see the value in anybody's SEO package. And therefore, you're always going to have to like justify your costs. And for lack of a better term, usually these are fucking broke clients. Like really, when clients are just fucking broke, everything is seen as an expense all the time. So I'm not necessarily saying 100% this is the case, but your question kind of reads to me like you might have broke clients. Because I'll tell you, I had hundreds of SEO clients, and so it allowed me to get clients all over the spectrum. I had some good ones, some bad ones. In the very beginning, I was like non-discriminatory. So just having hundreds of SEO clients at the same time, like 10% of those people are huge pains in the asses, and 10% of those people are stoked. The best clients with SEO, I didn't even have to tell them it was working. They would say things like, people are calling all day long and they say it's from the Google, but they were already on top of their tracking and their numbers. So a good little giveaway if you're asking for the right type of client is to ask them what their numbers are now. And if they can't tell you anything about their numbers, it means they probably are like very, very brand spanking new and don't spend a lot of money on advertising. But if they can tell you, well, we get about 8 out of 10 on the phone, that's like more like a real business. And I would suggest that it's probably more to do with that. Go after the businesses. If they can't tell you their numbers, or at least where they're approximately at, it's probably not a real business. It's probably just like, a broke kind of do-it-yourselfer. So that will probably save you more headaches than actually fixing the ROI. Because the best answer you've kind of already indicated is the tracking phone number. But even still, if you have to sell it, if you have to prove it, if you have to convince them you're worth it, like, do you really want those kind of clients? Do you want clients you have to convince them your SEO is helping them? I think as a general rule, aim for people who already understand that, and usually they're more sophisticated with how they hire people and vendors. Long, to all agency owners, which of you outsource your work and which of you do the work yourselves? I wouldn't mind doing the work myself, but I want to hear your personal experience and weigh options. Long, it depends where you're at in the journey. Depends where you want to go. So there is no rule that says you have to outsource. Like, it's your fucking agency. It's your life, like everybody telling you have to outsource. You have to do these things. I'll tell you why I outsource. It's because it's not for the reasons people think it is. Like, it definitely lets me go to the beach and do cool things, and I can't complain about that. But I do it because it's a better experience for the client, because I know I have off days. I know I have days where I wake up tired from children, and it's really, really nice to know that my team and my systems are still producing value for my clients even when I'm not. And so it's actually the reason I do it is because I like to help a lot of clients and do those things. Having said that, when I first started, I was just happy being a freelancer making like $5,000 a month. I remember actually in 2007, like my goal was like, if I could just get to $5,000 a month, I'd never need a job again. And that would be fucking awesome, right? Like, that's all I wanted. When I was at that stage, I didn't need any freelancers. I didn't need any goals. So the journey always starts out in stage one. Stage one, you're a freelancer, you're by yourself, you're everything. You're the CEO, you're the janitor, and it probably makes sense to sign clients and to deliver them all yourself in that beginning stages. And then you'll find as you get better and better at the selling, all of a sudden you'll get stuck in this, I'm doing some selling, now I have to take my foot off the sales gas because I'm delivering, and you'll find that there's not enough time to do both, and there's not enough energy, and that's when you reach stage 2 and start bringing in outsourcing. And again, you don't have to go to stage 2 if you don't want to, but when you get to stage 2 and you start bringing on the outsourcers, usually that brings you into the realization that you know nothing about fucking hiring people and getting good people. And so that's a whole challenge in and of itself, and obviously I wrote about that kind of extensively in the book for those of you guys who are more interested in that. I would suggest reading it if you haven't already. But you don't need outsourcers. It just depends how big you want to go. If you want to go stage 2, stage 3, stage 4, you have to have them because you'll just run out of time to manage all the clients. But if you're happy like in stage 1, if that's your goal, like mine was in the beginning, then you don't need any. So that's my 2 cents on that. Bizwadget. Hey, Frankie Fihn, I'm doing prospecting with an offer, as you said. Out of 10 people, 2 to 3 people are ready to book a call. But when asked, where are you from? I said I'm from India, and after they ghosted me, I have faced this 3 or 4 times in the last 7 days. How to tackle this? Bizwadget, I'm sorry. Which book, Larry? Larry the man is here. Sorry, I just saw your comment now, a minute too late. So, it sucks when you're in India. I understand that, like, here's the thing, right? Like, I've hired over probably 5,000 like individual little freelancers and web designers and developers for little projects and one-off all over India. And I'll tell you, there's definitely like a churn and burn mentality of the sense of like, there's a lot of people who will work really, really hard to make the sale with me. But then after I give them money, all of a sudden, oh, sorry, I was away 3 days. My mom was sick. So there is a bad reputation you're inheriting from other people that has nothing to do with you. Having said that, if you're in India and you have this bad reputation, what you want to do is take the elephant in the room and put it on the fucking table. So now you understand and this is, by the way, for all of you, you're going to get objections in your process. You're going to get reasons why people are like kind of like hesitant with you. And here's one: I don't trust people from India. So address that and say, hey, look, I know I'm from India and that scares the shit out of a lot of people. So I would like to put all the risk on me. I'm going to show you something first and give you some value and benefit, and to show you I'm not like other people. And then after that, I'm happy with being the one who gets paid second. Or you may have to find some way to like reverse that risk on them. Or like, hey, I understand it's dangerous to send money to India. Maybe you would feel more comfortable. I have an escrow website where we could put our project money, so you don't have to just randomly send money to India. You won't release it until you're happy with what I've done, but this also lets me know that I'm getting paid, so there's no risk for me. There's ways around it, is what I'm saying. So, but don't try and hide it and try and be like, I'm not from India, because then they'll talk to you and they'll hear your Indian accent or they'll figure it out, or why am I sending money to India? Just be straight up about it and then address it in the most powerful way. That's why people lose sales, is because they try and hide from objections instead of powerfully address them. So I'll give you a real example of one. A friend of mine called me up, and he generates AdWords for lawyers, and he was dealing with this bankruptcy guy, and the bankruptcy guy said, they're all bad leads. And this guy's like, you think Google's in business because everybody's bad? So I listened to the phone calls, and the same phone call happened like 20 times in a row. It was just like, the person asked, hey, how much does your bankruptcy cost? And they would say, it depends. And then the person would say, okay, well, I guess I'll call you guys back later. And instead, this is what we changed the script to. Hey, that's a very good question. We get asked that a lot. Just so you know, there's not a one-size-fits-all. Most of our bankruptcies fall between $1,200 and $1,500 total. And what we typically do is we take that in payment plans, and we work with your creditors on your behalf to lower your payments. So even though you're going to be making payments, the payments will be smaller than you're actually making right now. Does that work for you? Would you like to book a call? Right? So that's an example like of an objection. You don't want to hide from the objections. Like, once you know the objection is going to be, I don't want to deal with an Indian, then you got to like put that elephant on the table, address it in the most powerful way that you can do that, and don't try to hide from it. And by the way, there's really good news in there. You said you're reaching out to 10 people, 2 or 3 are interested. That's huge. That scales, by the way. Shemaiah Gordon, can you solve this? Does anyone have any success doing voicemail drops to contractors or lawyers? Example, 200 voicemail drops enough with the right targeted message as test campaign. Voice drop message examples, do you want to double a $100 bill offer customers or appointments? Or I noticed 3 things on your website that your competitor is doing that is costing you $100 bill offer to 2 competitor names every day, every month. What would you choose? Shemaiah, here's my 2 cents on that, okay? If you ask, does this strategy work? Does direct mail work? Does Facebook ads work? Does networking work? The answer is, for some people, yes. For some people, no. And to varying levels of success in the middle. There's some people who are already crushing it probably with voicemail drops. There's a bunch of people doing it poorly and having no success. And there's probably some people getting some results with it. Okay? So the answer is some yes and some no. So there's no way to like copy and paste and figure out what the best people are doing with that kind of question. So what I would ask yourself instead is, how can I be successful with it? Or how are other people being successful with it? Because too many times people think the reason it works or doesn't work is because you called them on the phone. But it has less to do that. It was like, for example, I was talking to a guy who was mass spamming some shitty offer on Facebook Messenger, and he didn't like that people weren't replying. So I said, well, you got to send a better message that actually means something to these people. And he said, well, I'm just going to try with email instead. And I promise you, just switch into email. Yeah, more or less people might read it, but at the end of the day, it's not going to make any damn difference, because it's not about how, like, what the media you reach them through. It's the offer and the messaging and what you're actually offering them. So here's the step that most people don't want to fucking do, okay? But if you do this, it'll change your life. Is before you start automating voicemail drops, get one voicemail right. Try a couple of different messages, very personalized for each person, and see if you can get a real response. There's tools, by the way, like Slide Broadcast. It's an app, and you can call people and it goes straight to their voicemail. So you don't even have to talk to anybody. You can go just like push Slide Broadcast, call, leave a voice message. But test it. And then automate it. Before you send 200 a day, get one right. Because I see this all the time in this industry, and to be honest, it drives me crazy because it makes it so hard for so many of you guys, which is be effective before you're efficient. So it means don't build a 20-step funnel until you've validated the offer at the end. Like, make sure the thing works on a small scale before you try and automate it, because people try and skip straight to automation. And the ironic thing is, the reason they're trying to automate it is because they don't usually want to talk to people. But the best thing you can do to automate it is to talk to people. Like, just talk to like 5 or 10 people, and then you'll know what they want and need, and then you can automate around that, and you'll be so much better off. So my suggestion is try a voicemail, and if you get responses with it consistently, then automate it to 200 a day and 500 a day and 1,000 a day. But yeah, I mean, don't skip effective before trying to make it efficient. Scott, hey everyone, I was contacted by a local business this morning. They're in the wholesale flooring business. They want to open a retail store in their warehouse. Their current retail sales are all online through Amazon. They have no experience with a retail operation. Their location is crappy for drive-by and walk-in customers. They have money but only want to commit $1,500 to local advertising to kick off a December 1st opening. Any ideas on the biggest bang for the buck with the short window? Scott, this is probably going to be a different answer than what most people tell you. I know what most people are going to tell you is like, do some Facebook ads, do some Google, run some YouTube, whatever the cheap media is. But I think the most effective thing you could do is figuring out who the people are who are like the power buyers of, I think what you mentioned was flooring. Let me just check. Yeah, wholesale flooring. So who the hell's buying the wholesale flooring? I'm going to guess the home builders, the general contractors. Like, these are people that are not just buying flooring once. These are people who are coming back twice a day to pick out tiles, right? So those are far more important repeat customers than, say, like me. If I buy flooring, it'll probably be once in 5 years to renovate the house, and then I'll remember why I never want to do that again. So in your case, like, think about those power buyers and think about how you can market directly to them. And it's probably going to be some kind of like invitation to like a grand opening. If you're going to, and you probably don't even need to spend the $1,500. You could probably spend $100, invite all the contractors and all the builders and all whoever the other people who are buying flooring. There's probably people, some property managers. That would probably be another one. I'd just look within 15, 20 miles or kilometers, like who is the big power players, and invite them to the event, and you can probably kick it off way easier. And then it'll be a whole lot easier to sell your Facebook ads in the future. But I think differently about those things. And this is one of the things that actually Jay Abrahams inspired me. He's like, when you're in business in the beginning and you don't really have a budget, the last thing you can be doing is like mass untargeted paid media. You got to think about like who are the real power buyers or influencers and just go after them directly. The kinds of people who are like going to keep you in business for a long time. So that would be, to me, the most effective way to spend $1,500 on a floor opening. Seth, can you suggest a good CRM for marketing agencies? I need something that will make it easy to consistently enter client info, including their contact info and list of services they have purchased, identify the salesperson and or project manager, bonus points if it can track their billing. We use Stripe for that, and log communications back and forth. We have team members and roughly 50 clients. We've tried Honeybook, vSita, QuickBooks, and Vendasta, and we haven't been happy with any of them. I'm about to resort to spreadsheets. Any advice? Thanks in advance. Seth, I'm with you, by the way. I'm actually a spreadsheets guy. Like, I get so sick of fucking software. So I'll tell you, it's not a perfect solution because they're buggy things, and I don't use it personally, so I'm not like telling you firsthand. A lot of our mastermind users, but Go High Level has a lot of those things in one place that you mentioned. You know, one of those, actually the most important thing on the level, the stage you're in, which is stage 3, where you're like the manager, is you need all your communication to be in one frickin' place. Like everybody who's talking, because otherwise, like, there's too much side information, that there are too many side conversations that can't be tracked. So that's what you're most looking for, is like an all-in-one where you can have your salespeople in one place, their commissions, all those things. And Go High Level is pretty customizable for that, for what I understand. Having said that, if you even do it old school in spreadsheets, that works too. I have what I sometimes have created in the past. When I got sick of software, I've definitely had moments of that. I create what I call a master spreadsheet, which has links to the 10 or 15 important places we're having a conversation, and people start with the master spreadsheet. I know it's not a perfect solution, but I've actually managed an entire CRM just on Google Docs. But the key with all of it is you just got to get it in one place. It doesn't matter which tool. None of them are going to be perfect. But get it all in one place, and your team will like be much more centralized, and you'll be able to like execute things much more smoothly if there's just one place where everything's happening. Buffy, hello. What do you recommend other than Buffer and Hootsuite? I don't want to give anyone my passcode to my social media pages. I'm going to need something. Buffy, that's easy. LastPass, it's a free plugin. You create every time you create a password, you can ask LastPass if they want to save it. You can click no if you don't want to, and it puts it in a vault. And then you can share your vault, so it automatically adds a person's password, but blocked out, so you can't copy or use it. So it's an easy way to share passwords, and it's free, by the way, for the functionality that you need. Justice. Just a friendly reminder, if you haven't thought about doing a reactivation campaign for your client list before Black Friday, then you're missing out. A simple, hey, are you interested in hearing about our Black Friday offers beforehand? Will go a long way. Get all the positive responses on a list and send them a blast with the offer. One of my MedSpa clients has gotten over 20 bookings and $5,000 in revenue in just 48 hours with a list of 1,000 people. They're happy. I'm happy. A lot of agencies offer the standard, we guarantee 20 clients per month. So think about it. That's essentially your guarantee covered with 2 emails. Just go for it. Justice, this wasn't really a question, but I really loved you sharing this. Yes, like for real, this is what I learned after doing this agency stuff for a long time is, excuse me, is, front end money works, like generating business for people, like through Facebook ads and Google and YouTube and SEO and all these things and designing websites. It works, like it's always worked, and it's going to continue to work. But I found in my experience, that's the hardest money you'll ever fucking earn in your life, because convincing strangers is hard work. It needs funnels. It needs repetition. What you've done there when you reactivate is just like, hey, we haven't seen you in a while, and we got this cool Black Friday thing. Would you like to come back in and hear more about it? It's so much easier because there's an existing relationship there, and there's a trust, and they know kind of what to expect in the service already. So that was the first time I ever, when I worked on the back end, found out you could actually make money for clients and yourself and have it be easy. And so the reason I wanted to tell you guys about that, like share this comment, because there's that. Now the other thing I wanted to add on this is, you've done something brilliant here, but what most people don't get is, why do you have to wait till fucking Black Friday as a reason to reach out to people? You can invent endless reasons. Like if you have a restaurant, think of how many reasons you could invent. We got a new sandwich today. We just made a drink. We got a new cook. Pizza in the back here. We got a band. We're having an event. We got a cooking class. Like you can invent reasons. Hey, it's Thanksgiving, right? Like you don't have to wait for the world to give you a reason. You can invent your own reason. And this is true of any business, right? Like whatever business yours is or what you're helping, there's always a reason. Like for real, one of the reasons I make offers is, and this is very legitimate, is like, I felt like doing a workshop. Are you interested? And so I felt like doing this. I thought it'd be a lot of fun to do this with 5 people, right? That can be a reason to make an offer. So you can always make offers to your past customers, and you should. And actually, if you read Outrageous Advertising That's Outrageously Effective by Dan Kennedy's partner, I can see his face, Bill Glazer. He used to have a chain of menswear stores, and he invented endless number of reasons. Like, hey, the sprinkler system leaked, and these shirts are about to go bad. Do you want them? You can come get them for free. Or, we're overstocked on umbrellas, so now we're giving away for you. There's like endless number of reasons he invented for them to come back in. So that's what you want to think about. It's like you're not just limited to Black Friday sales like everybody thinks. Every day can be Black Friday sale if you want it to be. Rock. Anybody have an example and resource of the best way to make a year-long marketing social media calendar? We would love to be able to see a year overview and then monthly as well. Rock, you're probably not going to like my answer, which is don't make a year-long calendar without at least testing probably 30 to 60 days worth of content. And the reason is, if you write like 100 posts, what you'll find are like 10 of those are what should go into your automation sequence. You'll have 10 of those really, really good ones, and probably 3 of them that really kind of blow up. That's just 80-20, right? Like that's how that works. And so if you try and make a year-long calendar before you've tested things in the marketplace, you'll mentally masturbate ideas that you think are good, but you won't be listening to the feedback of the marketplace. So I would put out smaller amounts, get the feedback from the marketplace, and then you can make that big calendar, and it'll work really, really well once you get to that point. But you can't like exclude the marketplace and exclude people and exclude their feedback, or it doesn't work out in my experience. Ken, I have a cold outreach question for everyone. Since our niche is digital marketing agencies and virtually all of you are digital marketing agencies, which cold outreach methods do you think you'd most likely to respond to? We've been trying several, but it seems decision makers at agencies are very challenging to engage. Ken, I mean, it's very, very simple. What are you offering me? If you just send me, hello, I am, and we do this, like everybody else, I'm going to ignore you. But if I'll tell you the best ones that work for me, that usually are like, hey, I had this idea for you that I thought would be really cool and would benefit you in the long term, and I'm happy to give you like a free sample to try it. Yes, Wong, sorry, I just seen your question now. I did answer the question about outsourcing. I'll send you a link in the replay. It's in the first, like, I don't know, 5-6 minutes, something like that, maybe. But yeah, so it's not a question of, if you tell yourself the story that these people are hard to reach or they're difficult, you'll ignore what the feedback they're giving you. They're ghosting you probably because what you're telling them isn't that interesting, unfortunately. And it's usually just like not that exciting of an offer. But if somebody said to me, like, you're an outsourcing agency, right? Like, I think you said that. No, you didn't say that, but okay. But imagine for a second you are an outsourcing agency, meaning you have all these virtual assistants. You know, so if somebody reached out to me and said, hey, we got a bunch of cool virtual assistants, I'd love to give you one or two. Go try it. And if you like it, like, let's keep going. Like, it would be hard for me to say no to that. Like, hey, I'm going to give you an employee. Let me just have them help you out a little bit. And if you think that's useful to go ongoing, yeah, would I lose a little bit of money paying a virtual assistant for a day? But is that not worth it to get people who are going to do business with you potentially for years? So yeah, so it's most likely you're giving them a hard to say yes to offer, or even worse, what most people do in cold outreach, they talk about themselves. Hello, I am so and so from blank company, and the reason I am messaging you is because me, I, we, right? It's very different to be like, hey, I noticed you guys do a whole bunch of stuff with whatever kind of agency. That sounds really, really cool. Do you guys use virtual assistants? Oh, you do? Interesting. Have you ever had any challenges with getting people? Like, would it be useful to you if somebody could just bring you somebody pre-screened? Yeah, that would be useful to me. If you don't mind me asking, like, if I just gave you one to try out, would that benefit you right now? And the reason I'm giving you a freebie is because I'd love to work with you long term, but how else are you going to know if it's any good if you don't try them for a day? Like, that kind of thing goes way more, like I said, that too many people are either talking about themselves in messages or their product or their service. They don't care about that. Talk about them and their business and what they're trying to do. All right, Godson, this is the last one. How do you prevent or build in safeguards for losing good talent? Long read, so bear with me. I'm working on transitioning from being a one-person doing everything agency to having a small team of 9, mainly part-time freelancers based in the Philippines, help support my clients' needs. I finally made the critical decision this fall to hire a project manager to manage my team and my clients, especially run the day-to-day operations. It's only been a few weeks, but I can see how transformative it is, and I can't believe I didn't have one all along. For right now, I'm able to work alongside my project manager to ensure everything is done on time and correctly. The problem, my agency is my priority, but I plan to return back to a corporate 9-to-5 position for at least a year. Personal reasons. I held off on returning back to enter the workforce so I can personally train my project manager and team with the hopes that they will be able to manage things for those 8 to 9 hours while I'm gone for the day. However, I've run across a string of 3 terrible project managers that all had issues within their first 3 weeks. One ghosted me, one couldn't commit to the hours after agreeing they could, one was 100% incompetent, and one was a hiring mistake against my better judgment, which kept me having to jump back in, manage the team, and take over everything again, further pushing my return to the workforce. I spent a long time hiring the one that I just hired a week ago, and based on early feels, I feel like they're the right candidate. Ooh! Oh, sorry, Godson, there's a whole second page there. But with the luck I've had, my concern is if I return back to a corporate position and my project manager suddenly bails or resigns, that no one will be there to support my clients or team, since I'll technically be at work, essentially leaving my agencies and clients to crash and burn into a million itty-bitty pieces. And do I have to return back to work? Ideally no later than January, so I'm kind of limited on time. We're a small agency So cash flow doesn't dictate I can necessarily hire 2 project managers, although if that's the only options, then maybe I'll just have to do that later. Has anyone been in this situation? How do I ensure my agency operates smoothly while I'm away? Specifically, I lose the person who's supposed to be managing the things while I'm gone. I use Asana for project management and have been furiously working on building SOPs and Loom videos to help speed up the training process of new members. Any advice would be super appreciated. Whew! Godson. That's a doozy right there. So I have a couple of thoughts on that. The first is, by the way, I want to give you some a little bit of harsh truth here, because sometimes that's what's needed to level up your game. So this is just how I see it. I noticed that you're toying with the idea: should I work this corporate job? Should I build my agency? How do I optimize? How do I set it up? And your agency inevitably, because of the time commitments, is going to be part-time. And because of that, you literally cannot be full-time committed to your agency, which I understand. And can it be grown in a part-time venture? Yes, absolutely. Especially if you really, really understand it and know what you're doing and have help to really systematize that and organize that. But I'll tell you, I don't know your reasons, so I'm not claiming to tell you what's best for your life or anything like that. But what I'm saying is, if you're half committal and part-time in your agency, then of course the project managers you're going to bring along are half-time, part-time, half committed and things like that. So part of your hiring experience is to be honest, you're bringing in people that are like you, because you're kind of doing something else, they're kind of doing something else, right? So if you have this half divided attention, of course they're going to have half divided attention, because that's just kind of how life works in those kind of things. Now, having said that, it sounds like you're trying to do too many things that are step 10 when you need to be working on step 1. And what I mean by that is, I'll see people, I'll see this in real estate, for example, where people are worried about which closing company they should use and which lawyer and how to avoid paying taxes, and they don't have a deal in place. Or they don't have, so they're theorizing about step 27 when they don't have step 1 completed. So for you, what I would say is building an agency. Really, to me, the smartest part about building an agency is not just about SOPs and optimization. You do that after you have a leveraged offer. And a leveraged offer means something that can get a specific type of client a result, solve one problem, and then you can deliver repeatedly and predictably. And what happens is it makes a lot less moving pieces in your agency, and it's a much smaller focus in general. So if you think building an agency, and I don't know that this is the case with you, but I'm saying a lot of people think this way, is getting an SEO client, getting a person for web design, getting a person to do AdWords and all those things. That does not scale so well, my friend. And so if you're doing that, if you're trying to manage a structure like that part-time, my advice would be don't, because that's I'm not saying nothing is impossible, but that would be really, really, really fucking hard, because you're going to be working 100-hour weeks. So what I would think about is less about SOP and getting everything in place, and more how can I just solve one problem in a really highly leveraged way? One problem, one solution, just tiny, tiny focus. And then what you'll find is when you create SOPs out of that, and when you create project management out of that, and when you hire people to manage that structure, and when you bring in employees to manage and do the work, there's just way fucking less moving pieces. And so just reading between the lines a little bit, it sounds like you got a lot of fucking moving pieces in your solution. And that triggers, to me, suggesting you're probably not doing one thing for one person, because what ends up happening is when you're just doing one thing for one person, it's actually pretty easy to scale it. It's actually pretty easy to bring on more people. It's actually pretty easier to hire project managers. So I would think about, there's a great book on this, by the way. I listened to it on audiobook. It's called Essentialism by Greg Mcewen. And the premise of the book, if you don't have time to read it, is instead of doing more things, there's a German mantra that essentially translates to less but better. Less but better. So instead of thinking about how can I build this awesome structure, how can I have less people that I manage better? How can I have less moving pieces that deliver better results? How can I have less employees but better? How can I have less project? And what you'll find is you can manage 50 clients with 2, maybe 3 virtual assistants if you have the right structure. So you'll make your life a whole bunch easier. So I appreciate your drive and I appreciate your passion. I don't want to shit on you. I'm just letting you know that you're building a complicated structure and you're doing it part-time. Like those two things are going to be working against you. So it's going to be really, really hard. And when the time comes, what I would say is commit fully to your agency. I know, like, this is one of those things, like, we have people in our lives that mostly just think we're fucking crazy, right? Because they don't understand what we're, like, to this day, like 14, 15 years later, my mom's still like, and that's legal. You sell stuff on the internet? Like, are you the guy pushing the penis pills? No, Mom, I don't sell penis pills. It's legal, right? Like, you're not like stealing from people. No, Mom, I don't steal from people, right? Like, we all have those people in our lives who don't understand our dream and shit on it. But I'll tell you, this is a really fucking cool life to be able to work from your laptop, live anywhere, be at the beach, kind of thing. So it's worth like sticking it out and working at those things to do it. So I don't know your reasons for getting into the corporate thing, not judging you at all for that. I'm just saying, like, as soon as humanly possible, make your agency work because it's worth it. And the best way you can do that is build a really focused structure. And that's all I got to say on that. So that's all I got for you guys this week, by the way. And I just want to give a little shout out before we go. The crypto group really adds on to your agency, just so you know. Like, I figured out, and we're testing this with people right now, is to take $1,000 like you get from a client payment, swap it into some crypto, turn on the passive income things, and just wait. And in the background, your money will be multiplying and multiplying and multiplying and multiplying. And then you can switch it back to money and buy whatever the hell you want, often in the form of like a house and car paid for. Like, I'm talking like to take $1,000, and with some patience, of course. Patience is required, but very hands-off and passive. Turn that into, $100,000 or $200,000. And if you understand that, like, your agency game goes way further and you need way less clients to be successful. So if you guys are interested, the private group on Facebook is called Crypto Passive Income. And I don't claim to, by the way, I'm not a crypto expert. I haven't like figured out all of crypto. I'm like way more a beginner than not. But having said that, I figured out a couple of cool ways that work. And we're going to be talking about those couple of cool ways that work and how you can use them to supplement all the stuff you're doing in your agency. So it's a free group. So you got nothing to lose. If you're interested in that, check that out. I just put a huge post in there of like literally 3 things we're doing that are just like, I hate to say like all hypey, like unlimited passive income, but it's a fucking lot of it. And it's way less effort than the things you're doing in your agency. And you can take agency effort income, turn it into passive income, and those two things work really well together. When your active income produces passive income, your agency becomes a lot more fun and a lot less urgent. You don't feel like, I gotta go get a client today, or I gotta go hire somebody desperately. You're like, no, I got it covered. Because a lot of our motivation, especially in the beginning, is just to pay bills. But once you have those covered, you can do things because you choose to, because they're fun, because they serve your mission, because they're the types of clients you get fired up about, and then I think it's just a better overall game. So check out that group. That's all I'm going to say about that. And may the force be with you guys. Thanks for watching.